Hey friends, today in the Beansworld show, we're going to do something a little different. I was going to do haunted houses and all the rest of it. I'd had the script ready, but I'm going to do that for next week. But the shout-outs, which I'd scripted, Auntie Mandy, who is a family member of the channel, she gets a shout-out. In fact, she's a friend of a friend. We were out having dinner. I have to explain this story. We were out having dinner. I can't remember where we were at the time. Oh, we were at the Bowl. Is it the Bowl in Liverpool? And my friend, he'd gone back to the Boise, Thomas, and I was kind of a bit sort of, not sad, but I thought, oh, my work placement's gone. I was thinking about going back to radio, and they turned around to me and they said, oh, you've already got a YouTube channel. And then we got talking about YouTube and stuff like that and videos that we could do in the future. So she's helping me get some locations. So you will see her at some point, and who knows, she might pop up on the podcast. Who knows? She might even be able to become a moderator, but who knows? She doesn't really need to be, but there you go. She is a real person, by the way, if anyone's asking that question. But yeah, and so there you go. And a great friend of this channel. And I just got speaking to her, and I accidentally called her Auntie Mandy by accident, and it sort of stuck. So it's stuck. She's not really my auntie, but you know, part of the Beansworld family. I think she sent me a message over on Facebook, which I've not seen because I've been a complete noob and not looked at my Facebook messages. Where are we? Oh yeah. So yeah, and another thing as well, just very quickly, I've looked at my thing and I've seen you guys do not subscribe. I've seen you folks and you're not subscribed to my channel. So hit the sub. It'll help me out, at least get me up a notch on the old thing. You can like these things and it'll help the algorithm. I don't really care about that, but just, yeah. Anyway, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought I was going to talk about confidence because it's a big thing. Like, I was doing water park a few weeks ago, and I know I've spoke about that on my other channel, but I was talking to James from Galloway's the other day, and we were talking about water park, and I was kind of saying, well, maybe there's a way I've got to sit down and tell people where my confidence is. And I'm using a water park as a prime example because I've been going there for the countless of times I've been going to water park on is amazing, you know. Anyway, so with water park, when I first went to water park, I was just getting out my comfort zone. I was more kind of wary and everything like that. But now, you know, I got to touching the platform on the abseil tree, which is, you're probably thinking, where's this going? Why are we talking this? Because I think, you know, and especially going towards supported living, like, it's great to have comfort zones. But if you come out your comfort zone, you create another comfort zone. That doesn't really sound like a lot of sense, but it makes sense in a way. And as an Asby, I think, like, water park's a prime example because I know it, because the staff there are great. I've got to know them through the years, and they've helped me. I always want to say now, like water park, I'm not just saying this as a person that goes to Galloway's. If I went with my family, it'd be different, obviously. If I went with a group of friends, but it's brilliant because through water park, I've had people saying, oh, can you? I've talked to my cousin about paddleboarding, which I've always wanted to do, and I've started talking to him about it, and I'm like an inspiration to him because he's like, wow, paddleboarding, wow. Well, I'm like, well, but confidence and autism, and we're probably talking about water park a lot on this because it's you can use bits of water park in everyday life. You're probably saying, well, Stephen, you're in a canoe or kayak or whatever, you're doing something you love, but you can take something from that and say, right, okay, when you go into the wild, there's something that, if it throws you, whatever. And it could be because I don't know, if you do something so long, or you're used to doing something like whatever it may be, traveling on a bus, whatever, we jump on a bus and whatever, and it just becomes natural. Do you know what I mean? It just becomes a natural thing. But how my confidence grew was getting on a train and knowing that the person at the other end would help me off that train. It probably doesn't sound a lot, but back then it was. And I'm talking from personal experience. And as an autistic, that was a big thing. I thought, as I was going on the train, and I knew there were people on the train. I wasn't that stupid. I knew there were people on the train, and the train set off, and I was going to Booth L'Oriel Road, so the train set off from Southport, and I was really nervous. And Mummy put me on the train, and that's how it started. Mummy putting me on the train, and then the assistants getting me off at the other end, and then coming back. Mummy and Daddy used to put me on the train, and then the assistants used to get me off at the other end, in Booth L'Oriel Road or wherever it was I was going. And at the beginning, that was a scary experience. It's like, any sighted viewers watching this will probably understand. You've probably had when your dad's taught you to ride a bike, and they're saying, they've got hold of the bike and then they let go. It's that amazing feeling. That sort of happened, really. I'll put you on the train. And I was absolutely nervous. My first time on a train with just me. Well, I say not just me. There were other people in the carriage, but there wasn't anybody with me. I knew that I had to, I was in control of the journey. That was the scary thing for me. I thought, I knew, and I've said to a lot of people, I said, look, the best way to get your confidence is to travel by train first, not bus. A lot of people think I'm talking out my arse when I say this, but a train goes in a straight line. I understand people probably have other fears of trains, but trust me, a train goes in a straight line. And all you need to know is when it stops, is that your stop? There's no corners or whatever to turn around. All trains just go in a straight line. Well, some trains have bends, but we won't get into that. We'll just go into the point. We'll keep it simple. All trains, the trains that I've been on, go on straight lines. there are bridges and stuff that they go over, but just forget that. And that's the best way to start off. Another thing that people worry about is getting lost. Now, if I had a pound on the amount of times I've got lost, I'd be a millionaire probably, because the amount of times I've got lost, even in my own town. And it's a thing, isn't it? You know, people get lost, and it's a massive fear. But it's the thing is, it's like, again, and it's like fully sighted people get lost in the car. The difference is they don't get judged for it. When I get lost, it's a different kettle. And I've got this thing, I don't really like using the phone when travelling, when I'm walking around, when I'm checking for navigation, because I know the phone sometimes is wrong, because I don't even know where the GPS is pointing on it. Excuse me. But it's handy to know these things. Now, another thing I want to talk about is confidence in general. Confidence in general is a big thing. And for autistics, I'm talking autistic here, we don't like new things. I'm not saying, we don't like new things in, new styles of music or new music people, whatever. But I mean, we don't like change so much. And so when change does happen, when we want the change to happen, we have to think, okay, well, there's got to be a reason for it. You know what I mean? So accepting the process of change. And that's where you think, well, if it's slowed down and if it's not rushed, it becomes more better and easy managed. Unfortunately, things don't always go at your pace, unfortunately. That's just a fact of life. But if, for example, like I want to go into supported living, and comfort zone was always home, but then the problem is, my parents, and then I went to live with my next door neighbour for a bit. Now coming home from college, and now I want to go to supported living. And it's like, people saying, oh, why is that? What the answer to that is, I have been, people have helped me do that, and that's why I'm ready to do it. It's not the case of, and I'm doing it because I'm ready to do it. You know what I mean? But you have to, when it's coming from you, and it's like, it's not like, a smartphone, so many people are confident with technology now because of smartphones. My gran is a prime example. I remember a time when my gran was never confident with technology. It's funny, because when they did her funeral, when she died and they did her funeral, and they were talking about how she used a smartphone, and I saw all that, because I remember when she had a laptop, she had a Windows, it was a clunky laptop, someone gave her this clunky laptop, And I remember showing him my Mac, Gran, you should get a Mac. Oh, Stephen, what? I said, look, Gran, I said, if you get a Mac, I said, just open it up, use Facebook, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, she wasn't going to go to a Mac. And me and my uncle, we tried to get her to using a Mac because we kept showing her, look, Gran, if you open this up, and I tried showing her, but, Gran was, pretty stubborn. And she said, oh, Stephen, and this laptop, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, well, Gran, I said, if you had a Mac, you wouldn't have all this problem. It would just be straight, your browser would open like that, your Facebook would open like that. No problem. All right? My stepdad's the same example. I'll tell you that. That's another story. Anyway, my Gran, she got this Windows tablet. Yeah, she got this Windows tablet. The laptop stayed in the cupboard. Anyway, she got a smartphone, and that was it. I liked to go on and off, and it amazed her in a way, but when you watch Gran use it, it was like, wow. And she loved it. She used her Amazon doorbell like a curtain twitcher, She'd be checking the camera every moment. Ooh. And, and then just like my stepdad here, he's got that Mac there downstairs. And the amount of times I said, Dad, you'd be better with a Mac. And my sister gave him one. And we haven't had to show him anything. He just sits there, straight on, boom. He worries about certain things, but we just say, look, Dad, as long as you don't go on dodgy sites, you'll be all right. He's like, what dodgy sites you mean? I was like, well, use your imagination. But, confidence, it's kind of, and again, barriers. If you put barriers up, you make people less confident as well. Whereas if you take the barriers down, you're giving people more a step towards independence in a way. I'm not saying that there's going to be no magic, but however, I do think, I think, for example, I'm thinking of getting an Arduino bot and training it to be a guide dog, because you can get because guide dogs have got these Arduino bots, but they've got their special software on. But I'm thinking of doing something completely different, because I know a friend, well, she's not a friend, but she's just someone that I know, and she's doing a course with Arduino bots. So if I can get an Arduino bot, if I can get the kit and get her to program it, or I might be able to code it myself if I learn how to code, and then I'll have my own guide dog robot. I've thought about getting an Etsy, which connects to, when I move from here, getting an Etsy which connects to Mummy's phone, so she'll be able to see if I'm all right or not all right or whatever. So yeah, and these little things that are used, properly, But I do think support, support workers, carers and stuff like that, I think having robot versions of them, instead of paying a support worker to go out with somebody, just get a robot. There's so many thousand things. And if it was done like a cat or a dog or something like that, I think people would be more, they'd be more confident. There'd be so many barriers broken down, where they could do it. I think it's already been done. They're doing quite a few things in care homes at the minute. They've got these robot pets that walk around, where residents can give them cuddles and chat to them, and yeah, and it's great because again, you're breaking down barriers. And I mean, with me, if I could get a little hedgehog, hedgehog number 2, put a little Etsy in him. Yeah, he would be my support worker, thing. But that's something that I might experiment with in the future. I want to do the guide dog thing first because I think that would be really cool if we could put full GPS in it. But yeah, that's gonna be a project for the future, I think. I do think, though, there'd be a bit of an issue with it because it's a robot. So I think people would. I know I'm saying people would probably accept it. I do think places would be like, nah, we're not having this. He's bringing a robot in. But I don't know. We just have to test it in the wild and, test it, see if it works. And it'd have to be friendly with our cat, Bruno. I do think, though, even though Bruno isn't really an assistance cat, he's a pet, more or less, I do think there are, if he hasn't seen me for ages, he'll come up and I know he'll want to come in, and he'll come in and he'll lie down there and he'll just purr his head off. But I just wanted to give my stance on my own experiences of, confidence and what it means to me. And confidence means probably something different to anybody else who's on the spectrum. It might, excuse me, it might be walking down the street with, I understand there's people that have got amplified senses. I've damaged a bit of my hearing in my younger years. Not just blaring stuff at loud volume through headphones, part of it, but mainly working in studios. And yeah, which I always tell people, there's 2 volumes on a mixing desk. There's the monitoring volume and then there's the mixing volume. But when you're in a studio, it's different. You have different levels of things that you deal with. When I record now, if I'm on speakers, I tend to listen at high volume, but when I'm on headphones, I try and listen on lower volume if I can. But yeah, You lose hearing anyway. It's just, it's just cells that die off and part of being a human, I guess. But there is an autistic producer who's on YouTube. He's very small. He was on SoundCloud for a little bit, and he does he's a lo-fi beats producer, and he was saying that he used to produce like for his friends who were in metal bands and stuff like that, and it's great how he talks about stuff. And it even shows like sound waves and how an autistic person hears to how a normal person hears. But it's like, I don't know, if you distort everything to like 100% or over, and it's like all the decibels increase, and it's like, wow, that's like, if your hearing's sensitive, it's like, oh my gosh. And my hearing was sensitive when I was like younger, but I trained my ears or my brain that good stuff has to be turned up and crap stuff has to be turned down. So that's what we learned. But there were things that used to make me jolt and jump when I was younger, but some stuff does now, but not as bad. I think because you could feel it. When you feel stuff, it's more it's more to do with low and high waves, but it's also, an autistic person isn't just hearing it, they're feeling it as well. It's hard to imagine how that felt. I think my younger self, things like rumbles and stuff like that, you could actually feel. It's a bit like being stood on a massive bass speaker. Which bass is if you're not careful with with low frequencies, you can get very, very ill. I read about a torture method ages ago that was done in, I don't know if this is true or not, but take it with a pinch of salt. I've not got this scripted, but I'll have to do this in another episode. There was a torture method where they played very, very quiet levels of waveform, so the person wouldn't hear it, but they'd feel it. And they were locked in a dark room, and they were blindfolded, and they played all different frequencies of noise, and the worst one was this really low frequency. They couldn't hear it, but oh my goodness, they could feel it. And there were reports of people thinking that they'd been, beaten, thumped in the chest. There was just lots and lots of cases of, them feeling something that isn't there. And that's, what low frequencies does, is a low frequency will it won't be there, but because it has a lot of space to move. And that's, Anyway, this was me talking about confidence. And I think to be confident, you have to make sure that all the barriers are removed. And even smartphones can take down a hell of a lot of barriers, that people haven't thought of. It's just because they use them wrong, and it's like anything. Use anything wrongly, it's not a tool anymore. But smartphones are great because, all the great things you can do with a smartphone. I mean, I'm actually recording a podcast on this one, but, there are other things you can do, like, GPS is a must. And what's the other one? Yeah, GPS. You can see where people are, and I mean, I keep on my location services visible just so people can see me, but I was using that on Snapchat for a while, but nobody was using it. Every time I go anywhere, I use Snapchat for that, but then people don't. I say, open Snapchat, you'll be able to see where I am on the map, but it doesn't show it for some strange reason. So I don't know. I might have to get that horrible app that I don't want to get. But the reason I don't want to get it is because when you install it and they install it, and then if you don't need it and uninstall it, they can still see where you are. So that's why I don't want that app. So again, that's another project that I might have to do, is to create an app where I can use it when I'm out the house, but when I'm in the house or when I'm home, I don't need to use it because, but anyway, so yeah, I think confidence is a big thing for anybody. Even if you're a fully autistic person and you've driven your car, and driving isn't, like, that'd be a great thing to do. But I think if I was a driver, there's a new fear you've got of the open road. Where are you going on the road? Where does this road lead to that road? And then there's the motorway. Oh man, that's a whole different, a whole load of anxiety there, because you're on a road, an open road, and it's, I mean, I'm not really a nervous passenger because I don't really think about where I'm going so much. It's the drivers. If I was a driver, I'd be thinking, if I had a nervous passenger in the car, I'd be telling them, look, it's okay, I know where I'm going. You'd have to keep reassuring them. Calm down, dear. It's fine. Like my mother is the worst passenger. She's really bad. And I understand, because you're not in control of the vehicle, someone else's. I've had to put my trust into other people driving vehicles. And I've been with a couple of bad drivers. But it's strange because I was never nervous when my sisters were learning to drive. And I was a passenger for them. I think I was a little nervous of Rachel because when she was learning, because I think she was a bit unsure. But now I think, they're both... The thing is, when you... Told my sisters here, see, if I was a driver, if I could fully see and everything, and if I had a nervous passenger, I think I would reassure them, look, I know where I'm going. I know how to drive this vehicle. I have a passenger with me in the car, and I don't think I'm going to be putting my foot down. So don't worry. I'm not going to be a Mad Max. And you probably say, oh, look at that bird over there, Look at the horses in that field. But I think the thing is, having control of your vehicle is great, but there is going to be a time where you're going to have to, if something happens, you are going to have to put your trust into other people. I think my Neil was a nervous passenger, but he never, because he drove so much. I don't know, he wasn't too bad on the buses and stuff, but I think you like to drive your own vehicle. You like to be, when to stop, when to go. You've got it in your head how you drive. And if you're in a car with someone, they've got it in their head, can't speak. They've got it in their head how they drive. And I think there are some quick drivers that don't think about the passengers that are with them, which I think that's a bit selfish, but I remember there was a minibus driver we had as a group, and he was a bit of a quick driver, and there was some people that were a bit nervy, but you had to sort of just like, oh well, he's driving if I was driving, there's no way I'd drive like that. But it's just, I think, again, all comes down to confidence, and it all boils down to putting your trust in somebody and making sure that they know where they're going. And I think you're more aware. You know, you have to be more aware, but know that they know what they're doing at the end of the day. I personally don't really like questioning drivers in the car because they're driving the vehicle, and I don't know, it's like, I don't know, you're making them feel like they're stupid in a way. And it's, I don't know, taxi drivers are a different breed. It's all right to ask them where they're going because they, not every time, but I think some taxi drivers, it's good to ask them. I used to ask taxi drivers, but now, if I'm on my own, I'm not with my friends, I tend to do the thing you're not supposed to do, which is open up the Maps app. Because I like to, if it's usually with foreign drivers I do it with, because they can't, the ones that don't want to speak, that choose not to speak English. I've been with a couple of them, mainly Uber drivers. Bless them, they do try. A couple of them do try, but the ones that don't, you just think, yeah, it's time to open up the Maps application. I've done it a few times, or with drivers that want to be ignorant. I just sort of, and it's only happened a few times. You know, but Thomas likes to know I've been in the car with the driver, and the driver kind of, this is a funny story. The driver knew Thomas, but was kind of pretending that he hadn't taken Thomas before, but was also pretending to go his way when we were actually going Thomas's. And I knew what was going on because I sat in the back. And what I did do was I had my AirPods, so I put them in, and I'm going to go for my Magnum in a second. So I put my AirPods in, open up the Maps app, searched. What did I search? Oh yeah, I did a search for where we were going, which was the pub that we were going to, and I figured out, and I locked it. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going past here now, yeah. And I sort of, but what I was doing was, I was sort of playing into the hands of what was happening, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going out, and I was having a conversation with Thomas, and it was all me, and the driver knew, because Thomas was going, oh, we're going past there, we're going past there, that's to our left, and I knew, this driver knew, and we got out of the car, and it didn't dawn on me till we got in the pub. I thought, yeah, but the driver knew, because we were having a conversation, and it was, no, because me and the driver were saying, you wanted to come this way, and the driver's going, I'm going the way you're going, but the driver, he turned around to me in the back, when he could, when it wasn't, when he was stopping, he turned around, gave me the look in the back, as if to say, we're doing the way he wants to go here. he knew I hadn't been before, but it was like I knew what was going on, and I was like going, oh, yeah. So it's like, and of course, because I know Thomas, which is a good thing, and we'd like, yeah, we're going past, we're going past the Boise's this way, isn't it? And, yeah, we're going past the fire station, and the conversation went like that for the whole entire journey to the pub, and I'm just thinking, yeah, this is, but it didn't dawn on me properly what happened, but we just played straight into it. But I think the whole thing I want to get from this is I'm talking from my experience, which I haven't scripted this whole entire bit. If I was doing the bit on haunted houses, I scripted the beginning, and now my outro, which I haven't scripted, but I think there needs to be one, which is, where is it? I'm coming, mummy!